What if the most dangerous evil in the world isn't some sort of supervillain or Hitler-esque character? What if it's a mid-level manager with a mortgage, a procurement officer with performance metrics, a regulator chasing promotions, or a journalist chasing clicks? Someone who goes home, kisses their kids, and never once thinks that they're a part of something destructive. In 1961, a political philosopher saw this clearly, and it explains why so many of us today wake up with a strange sense of dread, constant anxiety. Not because people in charge are some sort of cartoon villain, but something might be worse. Ordinary people operating inside systems that reward the wrong things. Hannah Arendt fled Nazi Germany as a Jewish refugee. In 1961, she attended the trial of Adolf Eichmann, the bureaucrat who organized the trains that transported millions to their deaths. She expected a monster. What she found was a careerist. Eichmann wasn't frothing with rage. He wasn't charismatic. He wasn't even particularly intelligent. He was totally ordinary. He spoke in cliches. He obsessed over promotions. He insisted he was just doing his job. Arendt coined the phrase that shocked the world: the banality of evil. Evil, she argued, isn't always demonic. It can be shallow, administrative, procedural. It happens when people stop thinking, when they stop imagining the human consequences of their actions, when obedience replaces conscience. She wrote, "The trouble with Eichmann was precisely that so many were like him, terribly and terrifyingly normal. Millions weren't sadists. They were clerks, accountants, engineers. The machine ran because ordinary people kept it running. Not out of hatred, out of habit, out of ambition, out of thoughtlessness. And that insight is more relevant now than ever." Arendt diagnosed the human problem. But why do systems keep drifting toward harm, even when most people inside them aren't villains? Harvard scholar Lawrence Lessig offers a powerful lens: institutional corruption. This is not bribery in dark alleys, not envelopes full of cash. It's something much subtler. It's legal systems, financial dependencies, career structures. Dependencies that slowly bend institutions away from their public purpose. Congress becomes dependent on campaign fundraising. Regulators become dependent on the industries they oversee. Universities become dependent on donors and grants. Media becomes dependent on engagement metrics. No one wakes up thinking, how can I undermine the public good today? They wake up thinking, how do I keep my job? How do I secure funding? How do I hit my numbers? Banality of evil plus institutional corruption. Ordinary people, inside systems, following incentives. That's a powerful and dangerous combination. In 1961, President Eisenhower warned about the military-industrial complex, the tight relationship between defense agencies and arms manufacturers. He cautioned against unwarranted influence. Today, defense budgets are massive. Revolving doors spin between government and contractors. Programs continue even when they're flawed or over budget. Is every officer corrupt? No. Most are professionals. But incentives matter. When budgets grow with perceived threats, when contractors profit from contracts, when careers advance through program expansion, the machine keeps expanding. Not because everyone is evil, because expansion is rewarded. Modern finance is complex and interconnected. When financial institutions fail, governments often step in and stabilize the markets. That protects the system, but can also protect those who took excessive risks. Traders chase returns, executives chase bonuses, regulators balance growth with stability. Again, Incentives. Short-term gain is rewarded. Long-term risk is socialized. No one thinks they're rigging the system. They think they're optimizing it within it. Healthcare runs on protocols, billing codes, insurance reimbursements, regulatory approvals. Doctors follow guidelines. Administrators track revenue streams. Researchers chase grant funding. The opioid crisis revealed how marketing, regulatory gaps, and financial incentives can align in destructive ways, without requiring that cartoon villain. When profit structures shape research, promotion, and prescribing patterns, harm can emerge through routine compliance. Again, ordinary people following incentives. Universities pursue knowledge. They also pursue funding. Grant cycles shape research priorities. Donors influence buildings and programs. Faculties chase tenure through publication metrics. Does that mean scholarship is fake? No, but incentives shape inquiry. Certain topics get funded, others fade. Conformity can feel safer than dissent when careers are on the line. Modern media runs on attention. Outrage performs well. Nuance does not. Journalists compete in a 24-hour cycle. Creators optimize for engagement. Algorithms amplify what triggers us. Polarization becomes profitable. No one sits in a control room plotting societal collapse. They're chasing metrics. But the result? Trust erodes, division rises, everyone feels like the other side is insane, and while we fight each other, we rarely examine the incentives driving the machine. Hey, we all feel it. The pressure, economic anxiety, political division, institutional distrust. Is it incompetence? Well, sometimes. But when incentives reward short-term power, fundraising, expansion, engagement, and profit, the system drifts. Arendt showed us how ordinary people can enable enormous harm without monstrous intent. Lessig showed how institutional incentives reshape behavior. Together, they describe a feedback loop. People adapt to incentives. Institutions reward that adaptation. The system drifts further from its purpose, and almost no one feels personally responsible. That's how this stuff gets ratcheted. But there is hope. The antidote to banality isn't rage. It's thinking. Slow thinking. Moral imagination. Courage to question incentives, even when it costs. Ask, who benefits? What dependencies exist? What incentives shape this decision? Institutional corruption isn't destiny. Systems can be redesigned. Transparency can increase. Incentives can shift. Citizens can demand accountability without descending into paranoia. The goal isn't to burn everything down. Well, maybe. But it is to wake up. Arendt gave us the warning. Lessig gave us the mechanism. The rest is on us. So what do you think? Which institution feels most distorted right now? Defense, finance, healthcare, academia, media? Which one feels like it has drifted the furthest away from its purpose? This can only occur when we stop thinking. And thinking, I mean real thinking, is still radical. Remember, the most dangerous systems don't run on monsters. They run on normal people who never pause to ask what they're really powering. Don't be a cog. Be awake. There is an alternative. Join the consciousness revolution.